I'm not even sure what I'm going to call this video, or even its general scope or structure, or what I'm comfortable enough to talk about. But I know I want to chat about mental health, I suppose my mental health, because I want to be more open. I want to open up more, to share, to be vulnerable, because I'm learning to lean into my vulnerabilities. I'm learning to shed this image I think I've created of myself as someone who has everything together, someone who always has a plan, someone who has their life figured out, and knows exactly where they're heading. Because I don't feel like I am. I don't feel like I always have my life in order. And I also really wanted to talk about this because I feel like there's just I think it's high time we started attempting to break down and dissolve the stigma surrounding talking openly about mental health. I was raised in culture that sort of shamed and hid mental health and mental issues. And I've just always thought, it's sort of a thing you keep private, it's sort of the thing that you're ashamed about. So I've never felt comfortable enough to talk about it. But I'm trying to really shed that image and decondition from that idea and just be more open and willing to talk about, mental health. So here I am, being vulnerable. I think I finally just come out of sort of a depressive, general sadness, melancholic, whatever you want to call it, episode, which I had been in for the month of May. Usually when I would get like that, I would know exactly what triggered it, and it would last maybe maximum a week. But that go around, it just seemed to have no origin or starting point that I could, locate in the moment and work through. One day I was fine, and the next day I was just crippled by exhaustion and lack of motivation and just questioning everything and what the point of anything is. And on my worst days, I was angry at God and the universe because I felt like they had deserted me, even though I genuinely believe that the universe has my back. I was angry because, that wasn't the plan. What I was feeling at that time wasn't the plan, and I was angry because I didn't like where I was at, and I was questioning how much longer I will be in this chapter of my life that I'm currently in, this season of sort of aloneness, and I suppose working on myself and healing. And I was at that point really tired of being where I'm at and wanted to move on to the next thing. And some days I was let down by my body, by how much it had changed in the course of a year. Part of me felt like my body had failed me because it seems like no matter what I do, nothing's changing. And then another part of me feels like I personally had failed my body, for those years of constantly focusing on how much weight I can lose, for my history of disordered eating, for hating my body, my vessel that moves me around this world. And then other days I would feel incredibly alone. And yes, even though I pride myself as being an introvert and loving my alone time, it gets difficult being by oneself majority of the time, especially in a still relatively new city where I don't really have much of a friend circle or a friend group. And even though I still have my best friend and family members that I can call and lean on in really difficult times, I still would choose to retreat further into myself. But these days, I'm more hopeful. So after an illuminating session with my therapist, I realized that I had forgotten to prioritize something I learned early this year, which was to always be in the now, to focus on the present, and in the words of my wonderful therapist, to focus on what's right in front of me. See, my problem, besides always being alone and with my thoughts, was that I was focused a lot on the future and asking questions like, oh, what am I going to do with my life after grad school? What if I don't get the job I want? Or I was, too focused on the past. Should I have taken a different degree? I wish I could go back to the way I looked 2 years ago. Or even dwelling on past romantic relationships. I found this great quote from a book I read earlier this year, and it says, impatience is what you feel when you think the future, in hours, days, or years, will be better than the present. It won't. And I suppose I could add that remorse is what one feels when we think that the past, in hours, days, or years, was better than the present. It wasn't. So now I try to do things that make me feel better in the present moment, no matter how difficult it is for me to bring myself to do it, mentally or physically. I make myself yummy vegan foods and desserts. I try to go on more walks, get outside more. I try to practice mindful moving and stretches. On most morning, I prioritize my exercise and really focusing on healing my inner child. And really, I am just trying to be here because, honestly, and as cliche as it sounds, here is really all I have. I know this is a different video from what I normally do, but really I felt drawn and led to share this, not because I am, completely moved on from this chapter of my life, not because I'm completely done my healing, and not because I won't have another depressive episode later in the future because I forget to prioritize my basic life principles. But I just wanted to share this because I know that there are others like me who are feeling the exact same way that I'm feeling. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I just want to be more open about mental health and try to shed some of the stigma around it, because let's just normalize this shit. It's hard, and we don't need to make it harder by transforming it or treating it as something shameful. It's not. And I hope that by sharing this for anyone who's watching or listening, that you know that you're not alone and that life is worth living. Anyway, that is everything that I have to share today. I hope you find this video somewhat hopeful. Thank you for watching and being here. I love and appreciate you all more than you know. And I will see you next time in another video. Bye.